So, good morning to all of you. Thanks to Sujata and Jam for inviting me for this ISLA 2015. So, today I am going to talk on planning in multi-agent systems. So, we start with a very simple situation. So, consider a participant who is new to Met Science. So, his task is to go from IMSC guest house, going to the IMSC guest house from this seminar hall. So, he is recommended the following. So, you get down the stairs to ground floor, then walk to the Met Science gate, you cross the road and you will walk to IMSC guest house. So, a plan is a prescription and it is a method or a scheme or a program that is computed beforehand for the accomplishment of some task. That is what plan is all about. So, later we will see that there is a better plan than this, and this plan is a very generic term. We also have seen this word plan in different forms. So, might be it is a insurance plan, it is a pension plan, it may be a plan to build your house or the floor plan. So, in whatever forms it is a method or a program or a scheme. A floor plan is a diagram, so which is computed or obtained beforehand for the accomplishment of certain tasks. Okay? So, we have certain tasks, we do something and we expect this is going to land us to this task. So, in this talk I have outlined this following, that first I will give a brief introduction to planning, and we will talk about the planning languages. So, by languages we mean a formal language through which a planning domain is expressed, and there are different languages, and recently the most popular today is planning domain definition language, and then we will see how this PDDL language can be adapted to take care of concurrent actions, interacting actions, and then we will see how this classical framework is enriched when we talk about knowledge and interaction of actions, and then we will see another form of knowledge interaction with actions called trials. So, this is the my plan for today, and planning is technically it is called automated planning, because the process of automating this process, and we have certain things in mind. It is not for humans to do this sort of mundane activities that we have shown in the previous slide. So, it is concerned with the realization of action sequences or strategies, maybe also strategies for execution by intelligent agents, maybe autonomous robots or unmanned vehicles. And some of the things that has been referred in the textbook is that these are some well established applications where it has found profound use. So, robotics is one, another is logistics, another is space applications, and we have these things used by NASA, Deep Space One and Mars Exploration Rover, and also for disaster management planning situations. And then we have this planning in the game of bridge, and it is commercially called Bridge Baron. So, I think you may know this. So, the motivation of automated planning comes from two sides. One is the practical side and another is the theoretical side. So, the practical side is we need to come up with a tool, a program that will automate this job. It is not for humans, it is for machines, that it will be automated and in a very complex settings, and to integrate some sort of autonomy to these agents, and to provide more intelligent control capabilities in complex artifacts. So, this is the practical side, and the theoretical side, as we are talking about agents in that sense. So, we want to provide, so planning is an important component of rational behavior. So, this we want to include, because planning is the reasoning side of acting. So, it has to embed this so that it can act intelligently, and combining it is a synergy of theory and practice. So, based on that it is called the study of and design of autonomous intelligent machines. So, in order to develop those tools we need nice theories, and good theory will lead to efficient planners, and this has been proven in graph plan and SAT plan. They were a paradigm shift in the way we construct plans, and they are indeed very nice, and I do not have time to discuss on that, but maybe later on we will just say. So, it is indeed a nice theory which will lead to a nice plan, efficient planners. So, conceptually we can view planning in this way, that we are given an initial state and a goal state, that is the desired task, and the domain description we describe the actions or the dynamics of the domain, and there is a planner which will take these three things as input and it will give a plan. So, in a simpler setting we define a plan as a finite sequence of actions. It can be more complex, it can be a program in any like a program that we write with that structure. And our job today is to describe a formal language by which we can describe the domain, the initial state and the goal state, which will be fed to this planner, and the planner is some different algorithms variations and which will give me the plan. So, I start in order to develop that language, we take a very small, very simple example. So, the setting is called a block sort domain. You have a table on top of which there are different blocks are placed, and they are identical blocks, they are everything, they are same. A, B, C are the blocks, and there is a robot hand that is there, and we want to achieve a stack of that looks something like A on B on top of A and C on top of B. So, we say that the objects here are a table, they are blocks, 3 blocks A, B, C and the robot hand, and the predicates that we have is on table X, which means X is an object which is on table, X is an object which is clear, there is nothing on top of X, and X is on Y means X is an object and X is on top of object Y. And so, our initial state we can describe by instantiating these predicates with the actual objects. So, we substitute X by A, B, C and we get this initial configuration, and similarly we get the final configuration. So, this is the initial state and the goal state. Hand empty is this, there is a robot. Yeah, that is also included in the language. We are not calling it as predicate, we can just, we could have said hand empty with, yeah, constant, it is a constant symbol. It is a proposition, is a hand empty is a proposition, it will be true or false. So, yeah, we will not have any argument in that sense. And now we define how this change will occur, and for that we define operators. So, they are called operators, means that, so it is a pick up X, X is an object, put down X, stack XY and unstack XY. So, when we replace this X, substitute X by the objects in the domain, so we will get the ground instance of the operator is an action. So, for this example it will be pick up A is an action, pick up B and so on. And if we do like that, substitute and we will obtain a plan. In this case it is a very simple plan, it is pick up B followed by stack BA, pick up C and stack CB. So, so this indicates the sequential composition of actions, and so how many actions will be there in this case? So, the first one we will get 3 because we can instantiate by 3 objects, second one will be 3 and the third one will be 6 because if I take 1 I replace by 3, so 6, this will be 6. So, total 18 actions are possible. So, this is the way we describe the.
Describe what the conditions.
Yeah, I am going to do. I am saying that okay, this is the this is a template. So, we start with an operator and we create the instances and we get the actual actions. So, sometimes I do not distinguish between actions and operators, the context will help us. So, the idea then is that we have a way to express the operators and the initial state starting with some predicates, and this we are going to write in a formal language, and this then we obtain a program which will be fed as an input to that program, which is the planner, the existing program. So, that program takes as input another program and it will give as output. As a simple situation, it will be a plan. So, we describe it in this way that now we are going to formalize that domain. So, L is a first order language that has finitely many predicate symbols and constant symbols. There are no function symbols here. And the domain is a restricted state transition system where we have the states will be obtained by, if I take the ground atoms from L and the power set of P, I will get so many states. And given the finite set of operators, all instances, ground instances will be the set of actions. And I will have a transition from a state to the other. So, it is given a state and action. If A is applicable, I will go to another state. These parts I will explain later on, what is add effects and delete effects. So, it is just a transition from one state to the other. So, some of the propositions will get cancelled and some will be added. So, that is what it means. We will come and take the detailed look. And we say AC is closed in the sense that if you have a state in that set of states, and if I perform the action, it will be also. And it is restricted in the sense that not on every state you can apply all actions. So, some actions will be applicable there. So, in that sense it is restricted. So, we define a classical planning problem as a triple. We have a domain, we have an initial state and a goal, and the statement will be that given a set of operators, initial state and goal is a statement, and the solution of this to the planning problem will be a plan which is a finite sequence of action that will transform S0 to G. O is the set of operators, and the planning language is needed to describe this. This is what language is needed. So, we are going to live in the world of classical planning, and it started with classical planning and is the simplest form of planning, and there are certain assumptions that are unique initial state. States are completely specified, your actions are deterministic, and durationless action, we do not consider time here, and one action can be taken. This is the last three assumptions are standard in different forms of planning unless we go for multi-agents. And here we note that the states are implicitly represented. So, by that I mean that we are just given the initial state and we are giving the operators, and we start from a state, we are given the operators, we apply an instance of the operator, we construct iteratively the state space. So, that is why the representation is coded just by one state. So, as and when needed, so you are creating the state space on the fly, and why it is so? Because unlike in a DFA or a finite state machine, you have the entire representation and you find out whether a string is accepted by the machine or not. So, this is not the case because a typical system in a logistics very simple situation, the number of states will be 10 to the power of the number of propositions if you do. So, it will get 10 to the power of this much, and it is much greater than the number of particles in the universe. So, this is a typical logistics domain. So, obviously, you cannot store such a huge state space and do a DFS or BFS on it, rather you take a state, construct a new state and do some clever search, prune away the unnecessary states, and you try to do either a forward traversal or a backward traversal, and you will get the desired goal. So, that is the difference, that is what I mean by implicitly represented, and this is the essence of planning. It differs from normal graph algorithms. So, the idea is to develop good heuristics to prune away the search space. So, in spite of the fact that classical planning has so much restrictive assumptions and all, it is still it has been and continued to be a very attractive area of research, and the reason being that if you see the developments that these are the planners really, some practical planners have been developed till date, and it started with 1971 by Strips planner, the first one, and then in 1996 we had a paradigm shift, new sort of algorithm that was developed by 1996. In that time also graph plan was done. SAT stands for satisfiability. So, you change the planning problem to a satisfiability problem and use a SAT solver to solve it. And then combining graph plan and SAT plan, today some of the tools are called black box. It is indeed very nice, and the fastest planner till date is a FF planner or the fast forward planner. And during that time also this language came into being, 1998 with PDDL. So, we can see why people are still attracted, because this gives to nice planners and efficient. Okay. So, coming back to the problem that we wrote, the plan for our any participant. So, we assumed that when crossing the road, we have assumed that there is no other agent. So, if there is, the road is vacant and all, we can simply cross the road and that is it, it will work. But if there is other things, it will not work. So, that is the point. So, a better plan then would be, so what we normally do when we do the first two actions, we will all do. But then what we do when we just cross, we just look to the left or the right, and then we see if there is a vehicle, no vehicle, we simply cross and walk, otherwise we wait, and it may be that many cars or motorbikes are crossing, so we will again come back and take a look at all. So this is a program and it contains a loop structure and a conditional structure. So as I said, generally plans may be very complex and it may be a program. Now synthesizing automatically computer programs is a non-trivial task. So and such a stuff was addressed in 1978 by Zohar Manna and Richard Waldinger in their seminal paper, How to Clear a Block, in the Journal of Automated Reasoning. And they devised a deductive planning approach, so planning via theorem proving, to obtain this program automatically. However, it is semi-automatic in the sense that some human intervention is needed to construct such a plan. But however, we will not go there. And so then our task is, so we want to construct the language that should be expressive enough to give us a wide variety of problems that we can consider, and however it should also be restrictive in that we can design efficient planners. So considering these two, we will try to develop languages. So we'll start from the early days when, and still many people use strips sort of representation. And so we define a state as a conjunction of first order positive literals that must be ground and function free. So in that way, there are three predicates we have written. So 2 is ruled out because it is contains a function, and the last one has a variable. So we only have ground instances, so that is a state that can be part of the state. And we make an assumption called closed world assumption. That means if I don't write something, I will assume it to be false. So this was done by Ray Reiter in 1978. So if I don't mention anything, I will think it is false. So in that example of blocks world, if I specify the initial state is, there are just 3 blocks on the table. Remember that example of blocks, there are on table A, on table B and on table C. If this is the initial state, then there exists no plan. Why? Because it is assumed that clear X is false. That means there is something on top of A, something on top of B, so I cannot do pickup, hence none of the actions will be applicable, hence there exists no solution. So that is the limitations of this approach. Yeah.
Can the planners that you talked about, can they detect that there is no plan?
No, they will report that there is no such, it will not give output, it will say that there exists no plan.
Physically, this situation is not possible.
Huh?
It's not possible to have 3 things on the table and none of them be clear. This is actually inconsistent situation, but the planner will not detect this.
Yeah, because of the representation and because of the assumption that you are saying that things are false actually. So what it says actually, you are saying on table A, on table B and on table C, and there might be that something is on top of A. That is the meaning of clear X is false, clear A is false.
Shouldn't the initial state be completed in specification?
Yeah, so we have other specifications, techniques that will say those things. So in this, I am saying in a strips formalism, it will be there exists no plan. However, we see that there exists really a plan, but because of the representation, we are not getting it. Because what it is doing, it is basically matching the set of preconditions with the that you have given in the precondition of the action. So the pattern matching fails and helps. That's it, nothing more. So now the dynamics. So how to define an action, an operator? So we are defining an action fly. So the objectives of airplane will fly from A to B. So P is a parameter, from is a parameter, to is a parameter. So the precondition is, so the plane should be at from, and it is a plane predicate, and these are the predicate, reds ones are the predicates, and this is at from, and the effect will be the plane will be at to. However, this at from will be deleted because now the plane will no more at from, so it is a negation. So this is called the negative effect, that is what I wrote the last time. So it is a negative effect, so effect can be broken up into 2 things. All the negative ones are called negative effects and the positive ones are the positive effects. So this means that you are adding P, so that means the new state will contain all the atoms that are there in add effect and it will throw away all the atoms that are there in delete effect. So that is how the new state will be obtained. And in the effect, notice that we have not written the red predicates. Predicates in red is not written there. So these are not changed, but we have not written it here. So again, if you do some sort of in a theorem proving approach, you want to pattern match, so then the rest of the things will not work. So there is again an assumption. So anything that is not mentioned in the effect remains unchanged, and this is historically it is a frame problem of McCarthy and Hayes, and people worked hard and eventually solved it. So it is a way to get rid of that problem and make life simple, and the planners can be easily designed. But if you consider this, then it will be really hard. So thus there are some drawbacks that we have noticed. One is there is no support for equality in that language, there is no support for types, and if you want to have quantification of variables in goals, that also is not possible.
So you cannot say that the from airport is different from the
Yeah, exactly. We cannot do that. Strips will not allow you to do that. So we will show that all these things can be. So this is how the things were developed, and from strips we will move on to. So just that meaning of when is an action applicable in a state. So you have the preconditions of A that is defined, and you match with that is what you said. So if A satisfies the precondition of A, then A is applicable, otherwise not. And similarly, iteratively we can say when is a plan applicable in a state. So we can construct this by the transition function, we will obtain a final state. If that satisfies goal, you say it is satisfies the classical planning problem, otherwise not. So as you can see that in that example, it does not satisfy, hence it will not work. So it will. So now after that 1971 to 80s, mid 80s, Pednault and his group at IBM, they looked at all these limitations, and they said that look, a state cannot be just, you cannot say that a closed world assumption, you cannot say, you explicitly say what is true and what is false. So that will be a state. So then in that language, you also have the typed thing. So you say P is a plane, so the type of P is a plane, from is an airport, to is an airport. So then the three predicates are gone, because in the parameter you are saying is just as the way we write in programming language int x, float y and so on. And you also have the equality operator, so is a from not equal to 2. And now it is very much clear that okay, up to this part we are done, and effect is now the effect semantics is a bit different. So we don't say this that add P and not P. What you say that yes, it is add P and not of P in the state. So S prime is a new state. So what will be the S prime? S prime is add P and not of P, and delete will be not of P and Q. So it is just straight away that one, we don't make anything. And here another thing is that unmentioned literal means unknown. So if you don't say clear X is not mentioned, it will not say it is false, it will say it is unknown. So now you have a different world. You will say it is unknown, so it will may do something, don't know. So in that there is an world called replacing the tire. So there you have an operator like spare axle. So in the state you mention precondition, spare is on the ground and flat is not in the axle. This is quite meaningful. Otherwise, if you don't write, it means it is unknown. Anything not specified will be unknown. So then combining these different languages, strips and this, also other languages. So the PDDL came into being 1998. So now the components are, we define the things in the world, the predicates, initial state, goal, actions, and we write there are two files. One file will contain the predicates and the operators, and other will just the initial state and the objects. And when these two files are compiled together, fed to the planner, it will give you the desired objective. So this is now the standard, and see how we are doing this. So consider the logistics domain. We start with, these are the keywords. So we define then domain and the logistics plane. We have the requirements are equality and typing, and we say there are two types. One is of type plane, another is airport, and the predicates are at x is a predicate and x is of type plane, y is a at x y actually. So it says that x is at y, a plane is at the airport, and the question mark is means it is an input variable. There is an output variable also. When we want to give us output something, we use output variable. For the moment we don't have any output. That means at runtime we are not going to create new outputs. So that is why we will say it is a variable, input variable. And action fly will be defined now, it will be straightforward, just a translation as before. So, AND is again a keyword, it is a logical AND, and it will be if it is add from and not equal to these things, then effect will be that. So, this is the specification. So, okay, now we are going to talk about concurrent actions. So, so how to embed this concurrent actions into the PDDL setting. So, consider the door with all these types of things that you want to open the door, you have to do these two things. Yeah. Yeah.
You can also say things like if there is no.
Yeah. Conditional.
Can you also give loops?
Yeah. That for all x, like for all x we can do. And we also do if something is true, then you do this. That also we can do.
But while you can do.
Huh?
While you can do.
While in that for sense we do definitive iteration. So this is a maybe the door, very tricky door is there, and so these two things have to be done together, and then only it will open. And this is another. You have a set of boxes you have to take from one room to the other. You can do it singly, but the wise idea would be to place them on a table, and the two agents will pick up the table from two sides and they will move together, and that is how we do. So, the idea here you see that time is a very important thing here, that at some particular moment of time this is true and that is true, but in planning in all the things we do not explicitly specify time. However, there is an area of research called temporal planning. Well, they will talk about time in the form of intervals, and they will explicitly talk about time and do things that way. So, we will not do that, but try to see how these things can be written. So, this is the situation. That second one I am trying to explain. So, in a room there are two agents, there is a table and there are three blocks. Now, individually I can pick up a block and bring it here, which is not a nice thing. So, you put all the tables either singly or jointly on top of the table, and then they will carry together and bring it to the other side. So, how to specify that joint action? So, this will be the goal state, and how to do this sort of a thing. So, observe that there are two cases. One is when the two interacting actions are helping each other. In this case, it was helping. So, one action, other guy will pick up the table, this guy, and then that will continue. In other cases are that the effect of the one action is being destroyed by the effect of another. So, they are conflicting. So, that is another problematic thing. So, so that is why if they interact, we cannot specify the individual's action without taking into account what will happen by the other. So, one way is to construct a joint state space. So, if you have, as we did yesterday, I think A1 is a set of actions of A1 cross A2 cross An will be the joint state space. So, it is a point in that joint state space, you are moving from one to the other. So, if we do that, then the number, it will be exponential with the number of agents, and most of the time many actions will not be interacting, and this will also create problem in the planning process if you do such a thing. So, thus how to naturally and concisely represent these interactions of this execution of actions. This is the, and then in 2001, so Bautiller and Brafman, they proposed this idea. So, the idea is like this, that consider now a simple action called pick up. You have to pick up an object. So, you can pick up an object only when no other agent is also picking up the same object. So, how it is done? So, you introduce in the parameter A1, that is who is, see in all these things the agent was implicit, it was not given as a parameter. Now, this is the new thing that is being brought, that who is performing, agency sort of thing, explicitly telling who is the agent, that is a parameter. This is standard, this is the new thing. So, what it says, concurrent action means the concurrent keyword will take care that no instance of this action will be enabled at that point of time. So, that means you are saying that A2 not equal to A1, there is no other agent that can instantiate such an action. So, concurrently this will be successful provided whatever you are saying not of this is true. That means what the not says is there does not exist an agent who is instantiating this action. It is a negation existentially quantified. It is that idea. Is it clear? So, this is what concurrent actions says. We have another form. Yes.
100 agents.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 agents could be picking up one table and some other 2 agents could be picking up some other table. Why should nothing else be performed like that?
No, nothing else. No, it means that only pickup should not be performed. I am not saying other actions you cannot do. Other actions you can do. I am not bothered about that one. I am saying this pickup you cannot do by another agent. So that fellow might be putting down something or doing something, but pickup no other agent can do.
While you are picking up something,
Yeah.
somebody else cannot pick up some different thing. So I think X and Y might have to match.
Yeah, x not equal to y. Yeah, x not equal to y is fine.
So what I want to know is, I don't understand what concurrent means. Concurrent is followed by a formula, right? This formula should hold.
No, this is not a formula. You see, this is an action. This part is an action, and you are saying that this action will not happen together with this one. So this action, when it is started, it is doing pick up a1 xy, and you are saying pick up a2 xy will not also occur. This is all we are saying. So we have other examples also. So this is the idea that if you don't write a not, sometimes in that putting, okay, I will take examples that will be better. So this one is the lift table, that positive interaction. So now you are saying agent 1 is picking up side S1, the condition is this one, and now you are saying concurrency, agent 2 will lift the other side and you are doing this. Now this is, I think, okay. This is what we are doing, that example of picking that. So it is concurrently, that means the same copy of the action is being run by 2 agents. So as if this program will run with the same preconditions, side 1 replaced by side 2, A1 replaced by A2, and it will give the effect. Yeah.
This specifies what the agent 1 should be performing.
No, it specifies that there is an agent 1. This is that one. His precondition, you look at it, you throw away this concurrency. This is the precondition. If you remove the concurrency part, see, this is a specification of the agent, this one. Okay.
How do you specify for the other agent?
Yeah, other agent is this is a copy of this one. Lift table is a copy of this one. It is the same action you are doing. It's a copy. You are instantiating different copies of the same action by different agents. That's it.
No, but could 5 people be lifting the table at the same time? Is that possible? So,
yeah, we have a different mechanism. I will show you how this one can be changed. That maybe some more parameters. I think you have to introduce more parameters. A1, A2, and they are also introducing something. So now you take that one that you are asking that. So what we have to do is, so
The effect is telling agent 1 is holding side 1.
Yeah.
Does it implicitly mean that agent 2 is holding side 2?
Yeah, so what is happening, you see, look at it this way. You delete the concurrency part. Okay. So you are running one program. So now you are executing the same program with parameters changed by A2 and S2. So when A2 S2 is supplied, it will be automatically A2 S2. So hence both are happening. So, these are the actual parameters you are supplying, and these are the formal parameters. So, the way we run our program, that is it. Now, that one, what we do now is, both the agents have taken the table to the other room, and now individually they will need not put the blocks down. So, one fellow will means put it higher, and automatically the objects will fall down. So, all objects on the table will fall down. So, this specification will take care for all, if all these things will be taken care. Not much concurrency is there. So, what is there? It says A1 is holding side 1, this is a standard one. Effect says S1 is not raised, and this one says for all, that for all you are saying, and this is the conditional, that if it is on the table, then it will be on the floor, and the concurrency part is coming here. That means this fellow should also not lower, other fellow will also, you are lowering it, so what will that fellow should not lower, then only that action will happen. So, this is the concurrency part, and this is the standard for part and if part. So, is it clear? These are standard, for all and when is standard in PDDL, there is nothing with concurrency.
So, in the previous slide, can you have more than one concurrency part? Can you have more than one concurrency part?
Then you can add and. Concurrency is a keyword. So, say these are concurrently activity. So, you put and, in this and you include all those things. And is there, no? So, in and you add it.
So, in this the format is, I mean like the syntax is you have and, you have an action, and then you have some predicates. So, suppose you have another action that is...
It is not predicate, it is just saying that these are different objects. It is different objects.
So the question is, this is a lift table action, right?
Yeah.
And you are talking about concurrency of this lift table with other agent. So do we have such action, some other action which cannot be concurrently performed with this lift table? So how do you handle that concurrency? Like pick up with lift table.
So so we may include in this one. This sort of thing we have to put a not of the not of and of that action you can put. Yeah, parameter differs, so you have to put all the parameters here. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, there is it is not very much. It is not that straightforward that we can adapt it. It is so in that paper they haven't addressed this sort of things, and still we do not have a language, a compiler that takes these things into account. So in the simplest form, this is what. So now, so another example is that box. You have a box. Both the agents, if they push the box, then it will go. So in the previous format, it will be written in this way. So agent 1 will at a location they will push, and this program will also run, and then the box will push to the other side, location, different location. So this is the format given by them. So now we have a new one. So recently, last year in the Brafman, they suggested that instead of doing that concurrency, you can throw away the concurrency part. You introduce this agent 1, agent 2 in your parameter, and you do as in simple classical planning structure. You just put agent 1, agent 2. So you are saying 5 agents. So you can have a k number of agents, and you can do this. But then you have to see how it will be executed. So there, how this format will be executed. The previous things were just copies of same action. Now you see, the agents are responsible for this execution, and they have to do some sort of handshaking. That means some control and communication for that to happen. So this is another. So then, yeah.
They are talking about replanning also.
No, we will not do replanning here. No, it is not replanning. So now we come to a different setting. It is epistemic plan. Already Hans has talked a lot on, we have learned many things on epistemic logics and dynamic epistemic logics. So it is a development that I found that maybe in 2005 these epistemic logics were there and dynamic were also there, but epistemic planning, these papers I think they were around since 2005. So what is the idea in this sort of planning? There are many philosophical motivations and other things. So the two things that are very neat is that we want to have classical plans, that is our goal, A followed by B followed by C. However, we want to also introduce partial observability in the sense that the state is not completely specified. So you think that there are many states possible, and so that you want to include in your representation scheme. That is your job one, and you also want to say that the actions can be non-deterministic. Okay. So these two things should be included, but the product will be a classical sequence. So then we have in planning there are different groups of people doing different sort of activities. One is conditional planning, non-deterministic planning, conformant planning, planning with MDPs and partially observable MDPs. So there also these things are handled in some way. Okay. But what is missing in this planning people, they do not talk about knowledge in explicit way, the way we define knowledge in possible world things and all. That is not, the philosophy is different, it is a different setting altogether. So my feeling is that when we want to introduce some sort of cognitive abilities in the agents, then this knowledge is very important. And the interaction of knowledge and action, that is the crucial thing, and that is what when we go for multiple agents, it is a higher order reasoning that is also important. So this I feel is the primary motivation of doing dynamic epistemic logics and epistemic planning in that sense. So the structure is more or less same. If you see, in classical planning, the states were described by propositional logic. In epistemic planning, you will do by epistemic logic, standard epistemic logic with K agents. States are described. Actions are described by PDDL. Here you will do event models of dynamic epistemic logic. So these are the objects in the object language, and you have a meta language. So this is the thing that we noted, that when you do for planning, there are two languages. One is the object language through which you are describing the objects, predicates and other things. Another is action language like strips or PDDL. So here also you have an event model which is separated, built from that atoms of epistemic logic, but to construct another thing. So the planning domain definitions are all following from classical planning. However, there are some different operators, and this I think we can, again this will be similar because our output is sequence of actions, and this is a standard logic. We are not going to do anything on that, that multi-agents. And so event model again Hans has told us. So the same thing I am just repeating. So we are capturing non-determinism by this equivalence relation for each agent. We are saying that these two events can occur. So we are saying the agent thinks these two agents two events, but which one will actually occur, it does not know. So this is captured in this way, and each event is a precondition and a postcondition. They are all formulas of the logic. And so we will see examples, and the product update is a standard from here. We are not going to explain, and because Hans has said, and probably Gentil will also deal much of it. It is a construction from. So the point is that when you are applying an epistemic action onto a world, so what you get, you are getting a pair of, now you are getting a pair W comma E, and it will go on increasing W E prime and so on with the precondition, postcondition. We will take an example or not. This is important, this definition is important. So that means you have a world, MD is not a singleton, it is a set of states, and you are considering an action applying to this. So that means in this set, you take one and see at least one of them should be applicable at one of them. Then you say this action is, this event is applicable there. This definition you should keep in mind, so that our next examples we can use it.
So, in question, why does the local state consist of a set of objects? Why is it? Why is W a capital? Why is it a set and not a single state?
Yeah, because the agent thinks that there are, he doesn't know the actual state. He thinks that he cannot distinguish from A and B, two states A and B. So you are putting them together. So all the possible states you are putting, and WD is a set of all those states.
Yes, but typically the uncertainty of the agent is encoded in the model, and the point of starting to make a plan or to evaluate a proposition is a single state in that model. Here you have taken a set or maybe a multi-set.
No, here in their model we are saying state description.
It's like in strips, so you start with a particular configuration.
No, we don't do it in here. We don't do this here.
But see, supposing you are uncertain, let's say whether you are in this room or you are in ISI Chennai. Now the question is, if you want to get to the IMC guest house, the plan which you have formulated will be different, right? To get from here to the IMC guest house or to get from ISI Chennai to IMC guest house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So how will the planner figure this out?
Yeah, so this will be captured, yeah, exactly, we will show it. So, so an example, I think, so this is the thing that we are, so similar example, so an agent is facing a closed box that may either be full or empty. He doesn't know which, and his goal is to empty the box. This is the situation. So it is either in IMSC Chennai or. So this is the initial state. So okay. So actions. So this initial state is this. That means there are two things I think possible. One is it is closed, it is empty, or closed, it is filled. And your actions are open the box, it will physically open it, but it is also some sort of knowledge is also embedded that you will come to know whether it is filled or not. This is what this action says. And empty the box will make the box empty if full. So the modeling is like this. So okay, modeling is like this. So the initial state will be a set of states W1, W2. This is indistinguishable to the agent. And W1, actual W1, it is suppose filled and closed. It is closed. So either it will be filled or it will be not filled. Now open box event we are modeling in this way. We are saying this is precondition, postcondition. If it is closed, it will not be closed. It will be either filled or it will be not filled. So the modeling is like this. That means at plan time, you consider two choices possible, two outcomes possible. So these are the two events. So that means the non-determinism is there at plan time. If this action is executable at run time, you are going to get one of them, exactly one of them. You are going to get either this one or that one. Okay. This is the first point. Now the question is whether OB is applicable there or not in S0. Why it is applicable? Because I will take a world W1 and at least one of them should be applicable. So I will take W1, I will see this one. This is applicable, precondition is true. So this is also applicable, precondition is true. So that means the overall action is applicable there. So we get a new state, this one. by that product construction. Again it is a set of states. So what you are doing is you are constructing it at plan time, you are saying at plan time. At run time it will be either this or this, because we will actually know. So this is the modeling that they are doing in epistemic logic, epistemic planning. So it is different from STRIPS and PDDL.
You have to do a lot of planning. I mean, because you have to plan whether you are here or whether you are in ISI Chennai or whether you are in CMI, or and you will have to write lots of plans. Right?
Okay, so let us forget about this this model construction and product update. So okay, I will come to. So given this problem, okay, we start with forget about epistemic planning stuff. Given this problem, we want to have a plan for this. So plan would be straight away, you open the box. Open the box is a physical action. Sorry, it is not a physical, because they said it is reveal. So that means open the box not only physical, it will change your knowledge state. So what you are saying, if K is filled, that means if your knowledge is now says a K of fill, if the knowledge update says it, then you empty the box, otherwise you skip. So this is a plan, and it is a conditional plan, and it is called a conditional epistemic plan because your knowledge part is embedded there. Traditional conditional planning will never have this K operator. It is implicit that this will be true or false by virtue of this sensing action. So this is a conditional plan, there is no doubt about it. So when it will be executed, you see one run will give me open the box followed by empty the box, the other run will give me open the box skip, that means one action. So our planning idea says that either it will be two actions or one action, but epistemic planning, that formalism says that will be two actions, because that action is just undefined sort of a thing. Open the box, empty the box will be true only when it is filled. If it is not filled, still it is applicable. But normally we do not do that, but it is captured there because it is applicable. It is not undefined, remember that.
So maybe you could say that conditional planning is done both in classical.
Exactly, exactly.
But the difference is maybe that in epistemic planning it may also serve to perform actions that reduce the uncertainty. But otherwise, I suppose you could formulate a STRIPS planning problem also as something that can be executed in an arbitrary initial configuration. So then you would need a conditional plan. Precisely.
You can take these parts and then combine them. And if you don't need this operator, then conditional planners are there. They can do this sort of a thing. They can generate also this tree structure can be generated. If then can be generated, there is no problem at all. So this is what we said that classical planning exists. Yes, indeed it exists. So it might be. So the point is why? Yeah. Which one? Yeah. So we said normally we will write this sort of a plan, but we are saying that in that epistemic planning formalism, that whether we get a classical planning structure or not, A followed by B followed by C, whether there exists. And in that example, the way we did, we have seen indeed there exists such a plan. Yeah, this plan is OB followed by EB, no? This is OB followed by EB.
But the correspondence should be more than that the plan consists of a sequence of actions, right? Because that is what we expect.
No, for instance, if the thing is, the box is full, then EB will not be applicable, right?
EB will not be applicable, but EB is not just this one, EB is the set of events. That is the point here. B is empty the box, but it consists of these two events together. That is why it is applicable in this state, S1. Because your definition of applicability is different. No, it is nothing to do with now PDDL. We are not doing PDDL. We are just living in that our states are now formulas of epistemic logic of that K agents. Precondition, yeah. No, we are not asking that question. We are not answering that question. No, we are not doing that. We are not answering that part. No. Sorry, I might have not told. We are not saying how a classical planner will do. No. We are saying given this model and we have an epistemic logic based planner, that is going to do. That will generate this. It is not Steve's planner or.
There are cases when you transfer your events into the ideal representation and PDDL representation. Maybe it sometimes, planner blows up.
Yeah, you are right. Yeah, you are absolutely right. Yeah, you are absolutely right. Yeah. So that might be a new. Means people are still not done this sort of.
No, sir. This has been done, I think, around 2006-2007 by Sheila McLaurith. She is from University of Toronto. So she works in this area, I think.
Please tell the name. Yeah, Sheila McLaurith. Yeah, Sheila McLaurith.
Even I think Multi-Hermet also done in 2008 sometime.
Might be that.
Yeah, in the situation calculus.
But yeah, that is situation calculus. Yeah, that is situation calculus. Yeah.
So
That is different.
The scene is this is quite expressive.
Yeah.
But they used to say that, because of it's more expressive, we have partial knowledge. So sometimes they say that when we map this thing to ADL, it simply blows up. It's
you are right.
exponentially big. Becomes exponentially big.
Yeah. So in Sheila's work, they are doing with Golag compilers, and it is based on situation calculus paradigm. So it is like it is very expressive. It is a first order logic capable stuff. Yeah. Please. Yeah, it is even more. Yeah, it is second order logic. Yeah, situation calculus is very powerful. So the thing is that why we are getting this sequence? That is the question that I was thinking, that why are we getting? What is the power that is built? The power is coming from the state descriptions and the event model that we are having, and it is because of this that we are getting this sequence of actions. We are putting that is all internalized within the state and the events, and that results in that sort of sequence. If we reduce it, then possibly we will not get a sequence of actions. Then we will go for this conventional conditional planning. I think that resolves some.
No, I'm looking indeed. I suppose the sort of internalization that you're talking of, I tend to visualize as that you're working not with a planning tree, but in this case with a planning forest. So you have to plan from different possible states. But maybe it's just a different way of saying what is expressed here. From each initial point, you have to make a plan that can be branching, but then you get a set of trees, and a set of trees is a forest, right?
Yeah. So in one of his papers, I think that tree construction, AND tree construction he did to, but there the idea was different. In one of his papers, so he was generating this sort of plans, synthesizing this conditional plans. So this synthesis they have not discussed in that paper. How you are getting classical plans? They are saying that look, applicability is this and all. They are not doing it. They said that it is decidable, and they did not go to algorithms because perhaps they felt that because of the internalization it is simple, straightforward. But that if you want to go to conditional, then it will be. So now we take a multi-agent because we are. So this is one domain. What they are saying that there are three logicians. I stands for philosopher, J mathematician, and computer scientist. So they go together by the same car, and one day philosopher realized that he has forgot to switch off the lights and if the lights are on, then the battery will be flat. And when he goes to the office, he will try to inform his friends that look, he can tell L that this is the situation, he can tell K that the lights are on, and he can go to the car and switch off the lights if the light is on, he thinks it is on. So, in this setting the goal is that it should be common knowledge that the battery is flat. This is common knowledge, this is the goal.
No, but that's provided the lights are on. If the lights are on, then the battery should be flat. Maybe the lights are actually not on. Yeah.
It is if the lights are on. If the lights are on. So we denote this by ijk by these people, and L will denote the proposition lights are on, and B will be to say the battery is flat, and it is a common knowledge that if the lights are on, then battery will be flat, it is also known. So it is modeled in this way. The initial situation, the J and K, the other two people, they will think that JK will think W1, these three things are indistinguishable to J and K, where W1 stands for L and B, lights are on, and not L and not B, and not L and B, and there is no such world of L and not B. This is ruled out by that common knowledge. So this is the initial situation.
And the philosopher can distinguish between these states? Because the philosopher is I, right?
Philosopher is I.
But he seems to be able to distinguish between the three worlds.
He doesn't have to do this. He doesn't have to do this. So this is the we are not bringing him into the picture right now. So this fellow will tell this J and K, and or he will that one, he will go to the car, and if it is on, he will do that. And then they have to attain a common knowledge. So only three actions are permissible by that agent, the philosopher. So how to go about with this? So the first time.
So one more question. So
Yeah.
is there any sense in which the mathematician is different from the computer scientist?
No. No. We are naming them. Oh, sure. Means you could have said that.
Oh, but maybe because the chain of communication will now be such that one knows before the other? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because J and K themselves cannot communicate. You are distinct. So now, this K and the K and J. Okay, I am saying just K and J. So K cannot distinguish between 1 and 2. These two events, and similarly J cannot distinguish between 2 and 3. That event 1 is that means what is happening here. So that means if that philosopher tells, if the philosopher tells J something, then he doesn't know. That means he will consider this, and vice versa for symmetric.
It's a truthful sort of communication.
Yeah, all these things, yeah, we are not doing all non-truthful, these are all good people and nothing to play here.
Okay, so in the next picture then, what is the actual situation?
So these two people, J and K, they think these are possible.
No, but there's only one state wherein the lights are actually on, right? So only in W1.
No, but JK doesn't know these things. No, so it is with their perspective we are putting.
No, but given the actions, W1 must be the actual state, otherwise the action of telling.
Yeah. W1 is, W1 must be the actual state, yeah. So then, the local action we are writing, we are using this sort of a notation that in that set we are putting E1, E2, E3. So the meaning is that either one of these things will be executed at plan time we are saying these three things are possible, but at run time any one will be executed. And when it will be executed, you will know that there is an action executed that these two guys will always know. Even if I am telling I is telling to J, K will know that an action has happened. This is there. That is how we are modeling E1, E2, E3. So it is corresponding to the non-determinism that we are saying. So if we do this operator, apply this product update, we are going to get this sort of a figure. There is a line, I have not drawn this line, there is a line, which means these two are indistinguishable. And the transitivity is also not shown here. So this construction we are going to get. So what, suppose A is E1, so it will be W1 E1, W1 E1 will be the actual state. If it is E3, it will be that one. So then he may repeat this process. So this agent will repeat. So if he repeats, he will get a similar construction. So again there is a line here, and these are the indistinguishable things. So now suppose the agent 1 has first made E1, then E3. So the actual state will be this one. Now in this actual state, we can figure out, we have to see that agent K can conclude that J knows B. Is it possible? That K will conclude that J knows B. In this state, this is the actual state, K can compute this, K can do this, figure it out. Why it is? Because he knows the first action, had it been this one, what is that, E2, had the action been E2 to put the lights off, then what would have happened? He would not have communicated this to him, that lights are on. So that means the first action must have been E1, and since he has not been informed, so he knows that this fellow has informed that other guy. So that means he knows that the philosopher has told this fellow, computer scientist, that look, lights are on. And because lights are on, it is a common knowledge, L implies B, so he will figure out that B is on, battery is flat. So that means he figures out when he comes to this point that Kj knows B. This is true. So in this world, up to this is okay. But if it has to attain common knowledge, then you have to have Kj of this part. Now Kj of this part, in order to have Kj of this part, so that means what? In this point, all accessible worlds, in all accessible worlds, it has to be the case that B is true. But here we find that J, this is accessible, this is accessible. There is one world, E2, W2, where it is not of B. So hence, it will not be, he will not come to know that this part, K of Kj B. So hence, we will not get common knowledge of this.
But I thought the goal was to get common knowledge.
Yeah, they will not have common knowledge. They will never attain common knowledge.
But in this case, so the communication is between the philosopher and either the mathematician or either the computer scientist, right? So it's like having, it's peer-to-peer communication in a network. So you will not get common knowledge indeed. I mean, it's a property of the type of communication. Yeah.
So they that in the Byzantine setting also agreement, yeah, Byzantine agreement problem, they are similar. So we can reduce this and we can say it is not possible. And I think Yanjing will discuss that in general multi-agent planning is undecidable. All these results we will show. So might be we can get more insight on that. So now quickly I will just talk about another form of actions. So sensing action was that sort of things that something is unknown. So if we don't consider epistemic logic stuff, so in planning in general things that are not known, we do some sort of test actions to figure out whether it is known or unknown. So
Relating to the previous thing. So in your goal you can write things like common knowledge.
Yeah, because in this language this is Kj of, we can write Cj, common knowledge, and then you can have the extended language and you can write Cj of, yeah, I have not written it, and they said that even without common knowledge it is undecidable. So that part is. So again we will quickly do this. So so now we take another example, that Bloch's world again, revisit Bloch's world. So now what we change here is, there are 3 blocks that are identically looking, but their weights are not known, and we want a configuration such that all lights block will be on top of heavy blocks. Maybe one is made of wood, another is of metal. So in that way, logistic scenario we want to do that. So so in our old operators, if we apply, now pick up x will, we can say pick up x can be applied only if it is light. So then we don't know whether it is light or heavy, so hence those things will not work. So we should do something to figure out whether it is light or heavy. So one is, suppose there is an action called sensing. So you take a sensor and you weight it is light or heavy. You do it and then you do this part, the job is done. So that is a simple thing. Now we want to address a situation, class of problems, where the sensing actions are not available to you. We assume for the moment, for whatever reason it is not available to you, and you want to still do planning in those types of actions and try to carry out this job. So how to model those things and how to do something similar to planning is what is our intent. So our formal is specifying the our initial state will be this one, and we live in a ADL specification, whatever is unspecified is unknown. So that means we don't know whether it is heavy or light, and our goal is this, that means all light should be at the bottom and this will be our goal condition. It is a condition, we are not saying A on top of B or C, it is there exists. So that means any configuration that satisfies is okay. So we are not living in strips world, we are living in a different language that supports all this. Yeah. So above UV, yeah.
Oh, the bracketing.
Yeah.
Both are not.
So how this partial observability comes in the picture here?
Yeah, partial observability means you don't know whether it is heavy or light. See, if you knew it is heavy, then you will do something. If you knew it is light, you will do something.
So how this anything unspecified is unknown from something which is not mentioned is not correct.
Huh?
So closed.
Unknown. I am saying it is unknown. We don't know. That's it. It is not closed world. No. Not strips. No, it is not closed world.
It's not closed world, but how it's different. They are also in closed world assumption. If something is not mentioned, we are not going to use it.
Yeah, so if you are living in strips, it means that it is, if I say weight, suppose there is a predicate weight of W, weight of A, then if you write weight of A, that means it is heavy, that means there will be a predicate called heavy or light. So if you write negation of this, it means it is light. Or if you don't write, that means whatever, this one is false, that means it will be light. That means it will know it is light, so you will do this, no problem. It can be either heavy or light. It cannot be both or whatever, that other things are not possible.
But we have notion there as well to represent heaviness and lightness. We can put some weight like 5 kg I mean, above 5 kg it's heavy or
Yeah, but how will you know whether it is above 5 kg? It is, look, see, this is a table, it may be made of wood, the block may be made of wood. So, it looks like 5 kg, it may be 1 kg. I am saying if sensors are there, we will do it, no problem. Huh? No, our logics are not coming here. So, if sensors are not there, how will you figure out? That is the question. How will you do sensor? You take an image of it, process it, that's it. How do you do?
I can see some trade-offs, sir. This seems more expressive, but at the same time it is more complex. Because I work in classical planning, so what I can see is we can shift the paradigm or some formalism only when it is challenging to classical planning, like probabilistic or belief with the action.
Yeah, you are right.
So how do you comment over this epistemic planning?
No, I am not doing epistemic planning here. I am not doing epistemic planning to be in that model. I am not living. I am not living in that epistemic model formalism. This is a different thing. This part that I am talking, it is different from the previous one. It is planning with trials, I said. It is nothing to do with that. So after we finish, possibly we will figure out what are the limitations or perhaps the way to improve. That I think we can do. So we define. So what we do is we first have a pickup x, and we say that it is applicable provided it is not heavy. If it is not heavy, then we do original pickup x. We introduce a try pickup x, and we say that on table x should be true, clear x should be true, hand empty is true. That means I need not know whether it is heavy or light, and my output will be holding x or empty. That means it is a non-deterministic output. It is a non-deterministic action, and I define something for heavy and these things. So this is how I model it. So what is that happening with knowledge? It is true for any sensing actions or test action. Before you perform this test, you know this, and after performing, you will know this. Okay? That is true for any sensing action. You can substitute by any test action. And observe, if you do this, there is no conformant plan for this problem. Conformant planning says that you may start with any set of states and your actions may be non-determinism. You want a classical plan for this. It is not. So we cannot do conformant planning also in this setting. So we have to do something else. So let me go into detail. So what is a sensing action? So sensing action is, so A is a primitive action with preconditions and postcondition effects. So what is the problem here? There is some proposition that we don't know at planning time, and we want to know it at runtime. So we define sense of phi. So the precondition will be this, postcondition is this. So a sensing action philosophically says that your knowledge will change, but things about the world will not. Okay. So we are testing on this proposition phi. It is a proposition. Now I want to do a try action similar to this, but something different. So what it is? So what I do is, I am combining a try action, deriving it from a corresponding A action. So let this be A action, and this J is, you see, J is unknown to you. So this try action says, that means precondition I can write this one. It doesn't know. As an effect, what are the possibilities? Either I will get the effect denoted by original A and K of Pj, or I will know that it is not Pj. So not only will my world knowledge change, but the physical world may also change. This is the difference between sensing action and a try action. Sensing action only knowledge change, this is knowledge as well as this. So now once we do this, so we define a logical language, and so we first define the transition system. So we have a set of states, we have an equivalence relation, because we cannot distinguish between light and heavy states, so we define this. Now our job will be that we are going to define a logic of actions and but the frame should satisfy certain conditions. This is of interest, and this is what we try to do. So, we say that if you take any two state, these are indistinguishable if and only if the tri-action is enabled at this one, then the tri-action is enabled at this one. Then we say S1 indistinguishable to. If they are indistinguishable, then the tri will be enabled at both. And next one says that the set of states that we will be getting from tri-actions will be a superset of the set of states obtained from the A action. Indeed, because A is non-determinism, tri A is non-determinism, so you can have more possible states than this one. So, hence it is a subset of that one. Last one says that if these two states are indistinguishable, and if I perform this A action, if it is enabled there, then the resultant states will also remain indistinguishable. And this condition differentiates between A and tri A. Tri A will not hold here. Tri A will not. That is how we will distinguish. So, given this, and we want to see how knowledge changes. So, then the logic will be, this is the logic of actions, that means we are going to specify plans through this. So, it is the standard one, this is action index modal logic. So, A will be belonging to this. So, when we do OR, it will take non-determinism, and if I substitute combining sequential composition, we get. So, then if I do an example will be a plan. So, then all types of conditional plans with epistemic things that we discussed, we can express through this logic. And for that example, a plan will be like this. It is a very complex plan, and it is a machine generated plan.
So the effect of this on the previous slide. So the effect of a tri-action is that the. Now I'm lost. Just the previous to the one you had on when I asked my question.
No, you have moved to some other slide. Next, this one. This one?
No, I think it's. No, I'm unsure. Anyway, there was. You could try say if the sensing action is on the value of a variable.
Yeah, I think we are here.
Then the outcome would be knowledge of P or knowledge of not P. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so the sensing should be of a propositional variable. If the sensing is not of.
It is a proposition. No, it is a proposition always. It is a proposition. Let phi be a proposition. So, phi is a proposition. So, you can generate this automatically. So, this was done. So, we have an axiomatic system for this, and we will not go there. So, these are the results that it will be space and it did. Okay, now we just want to move to multi-agent trials, and I think 5 minutes, yeah. So, multi-agent trials we want to just move, and we want to see how the things. So, again as before, this will be just instead of 1 it will be n equivalence relations, and so now we again our job is to design the frame conditions, and so the first one says that if all agents think that they are equivalent, that if you take two states, every agent thinks that they are indistinguishable, then they are indeed equal, means same state. Now we say that if someone is not part of the joint action, theta A means the group of agents performing the joint action. If it is not there, then if there was a joint action that transferred S1 to S2, then J will think it is indistinguishable. This is also something quite standard. And this is also borrowed from the single agent case, that for all J, this is the joint actions, then tri A is enabled at S1 if and only. Again, we just carry over from the single agent, and we will say they are a subset of this one. So, now the logic part we have to So, instead of k, it is now kj, it is as same as before, but now distributed knowledge is also there. And distributed knowledge is defined in this way, that it is standard, it is not maybe that. So, we take the equivalence relation of A as all intersection of all the equivalence relations of the participating agents, and then A is an action. And so, we wish that our frame should satisfy 2, 3, 4, and this one should be true in a restricted model, that is a quotient of this AG, where AG is again a intersection of the equivalence relation of this. So, again these are the axioms that we have done, and this is a complete axiomatization, and the satisfiability is any XP time complete. So, that is the point that we have, and the materials that I have taken is that joint actions, these two papers I have found. This is a main very nice concept introduced, and recent paper is this, and this is Bolander's paper, and other papers are also there, but this one was the place of material, and all this basics of planning you can take the textbook, and this is AI book, and so that's it. Thanks.